Okay, so you think you know Rapunzel, right? Long hair, trapped in a tower, rescued by a prince. Classic damsel in distress.
Right.
But what if I told you some theories suggest she wasn't distressed at all?
Oh, really?
In fact, she might have been vibing in that tower, curating like the ultimate aesthetic haven.
Interesting.
Intrigued?
Yeah.
Let's unpack this. Today, our deep dive is inspired by Rapunzel's aesthetic, a fusion of light, freedom, and creative rebellion.
It's fascinating. We're going to explore the psychology behind why her visual style resonates with so many people, particularly in today's world.
Yeah, it's really about understanding how something as simple as a color palette or a symbol like hair can tap into our deepest desires.
Right. Like how many of us have impulsively dyed our hair after a breakup?
Oh, yeah.
It's more than just a change. It's like a statement.
Exactly. So let's start with Rapunzel's signature color palette, pastels.
Ooh, lavender, pink, yellow. It's giving soft girl, cottagecore vibes. Not exactly the stereotypical image of a dreary prison, right? Not at all, and there's a reason for that. Color psychology suggests that pastels can actually have a calming effect, even lowering blood pressure and anxiety. Like some hospitals and nurseries use pastels because they're thought to be soothing.
So maybe Rapunzel was onto something, like she created this peaceful sanctuary within her tower using color.
It's possible. It's that she intuitively understood the power of her environment to influence her mood.
I wish I had that intuition. My apartment is more chaotic chic than call me pastel haven.
Well, we all have different styles, but the key takeaway here is that we can all be more mindful of how our surroundings impact our well-being.
Makes you wonder what message your throw pillows are sending, right? But speaking of powerful symbols, let's talk about the elephant, or rather, the hair in the room, 70 feet of magical golden hair. That's got to be significant.
Absolutely. Hair is often viewed as a symbol of identity, individuality, and control. For Rapunzel, it represents both her unique power and the way others try to control her, like Mother Gothel using it to keep her trapped. It's a fascinating duality.
It's like the double-edged sword of being a woman, isn't it? Society puts so much emphasis on our appearances, especially our hair. It can be both a source of empowerment and a tool for judgment.
It definitely raises questions about societal expectations versus personal freedom. Do you think Rapunzel would have developed such a strong sense of self if she weren't constantly defined by her hair?
That's a good question. It's like her hair is both her prison and her escape route. It isolates her, but also gives her a unique ability that others crave.
And let's not forget the symbolism of her hair being blonde. In many cultures, blonde hair is associated with youth, innocence, and even divinity.
So it adds another layer of complexity to her character. She's this innocent figure who is also incredibly powerful and potentially rebellious.
Exactly. It makes you think about how we often underestimate the strength of women who might appear delicate or pretty.
Okay, so we've got pastels for serenity, magical hair for identity.
Mm-hmm.
What else is going on in this Rapunzel aesthetic? Those floating lanterns are pretty iconic, right?
They are. They symbolize hope, freedom, and connection. And there's actually a scientific link between light and mood. Studies have shown that exposure to light, especially sunlight, can trigger the release of serotonin.
So those sunshiny Instagram photos are actually good for our mental health. I'm telling my therapist.
Well, it's more nuanced than that. The lanterns also represent Rapunzel's dreams and aspirations. They're her guiding light in the darkness.
It's like she's literally chasing her dreams. And those lanterns are a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always something to hope for.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about finding the light within yourself, even when the world feels dark.
I'm sensing a theme here. Rapunzel is a lot more profound than I gave her credit for. But we've only scratched the surface. What else makes her aesthetic so captivating?
Let's not forget her artistic side. Remember, her tower is filled with paintings, crafts, and all sorts of creative projects. She's basically turned her isolation into an art studio.
Right. And it's not just a hobby, it's a coping mechanism. She's using her creativity to deal with isolation and create meaning in a seemingly hopeless situation.
There's a lot of research on the therapeutic benefits of creative expression. It can help reduce stress, boost self-esteem, and even process trauma. It's like Rapunzel instinctively understood the power of art to heal and empower.
So basically, we should all be channeling our inner Rapunzel and picking up a paintbrush or a knitting needle the next time we're feeling stressed.
It's not a bad idea. It's about finding healthy ways to express yourself and cope with life's challenges.
Okay, so far we've painted a pretty positive picture of Rapunzel's aesthetic. But is there a darker side to this whole creative, freedom-seeking vibe?
That's a great question. It's worth considering if some of her aesthetic choices are driven by rebellion against her confinement.
Well, I like where this is going.
Think about it. When our freedom is threatened, we often value the things we're denied even more. It's a psychological principle called reactance.
So like the more Mother Gothel tries to control her, the more Rapunzel clings to her own unique style as a form of resistance.
Precisely. It highlights the power of external pressures to shape our desires and values.
It's like the forbidden fruit effect. The things we can't have are always the most tempting. So is it possible that Rapunzel's love of nature, her bohemian style, even her yearning for freedom are all amplified because she's been denied those things for so long?
It's definitely something to consider. Maybe her whole aesthetic is a giant screw you to Mother Gothel.
That's a pretty badass interpretation.
And it makes you wonder how much of our own passions and preferences are shaped by what we've been told we can't have or do.
Okay, that's a deep thought. I need a moment to process.
Take your time, but while you're pondering that, consider how much of Rapunzel's aesthetic we see reflected in modern trends.
Oh yeah, totally. It's everywhere. Like the whole cottagecore thing with its emphasis on nature, cozy interiors, and DIY crafts.
Exactly. Cottagecore is all about romanticizing a simpler, more self-sufficient lifestyle. It's about finding beauty and contentment in the everyday.
And rejecting the hustle culture, right?
In a way, yes. It's about prioritizing well-being and personal fulfillment over external validation.
So maybe Rapunzel is the OG cottagecore queen?
Perhaps she is. And the fact that her story continues to resonate with people centuries later suggests that this longing for simplicity, freedom, and connection with nature is deeply rooted in the human experience.
So it's not just a trend. It's a fundamental human desire.
It seems that way, and it's fascinating how Rapunzel's story embodies that desire in such a visually compelling way.
I'm starting to see Rapunzel in a whole new light. She's not just a damsel in distress. She's a style icon, a rebel, a creative genius.
And she's just getting started. We've got a lot more to unpack in her aesthetic journey.
All right, you've officially piqued my curiosity. I can't wait to see what other hidden depths we uncover in Rapunzel's world.
Let's dive back in. One thing that's often overlooked in discussions of Rapunzel's aesthetic is its connection to her longing for connection. Even though she's isolated, she's always searching for ways to connect with the outside world, whether it's through her interactions with Pascal, her fascination with the floating lanterns, or ultimately her escape.
That's so true. She's not content to just exist in her tower. She craves something, more a sense of belonging and shared experiences.
And I think that resonates deeply with a lot of people, especially today. It's easy to feel disconnected even with social media. Maybe that's why Rapunzel's aesthetic is so appealing. It reminds us of the importance of genuine connection.
It's like she's seeking out her tribe, her people. Which makes me think about how we express ourselves aesthetically to connect with others who share similar values or interests.
Exactly. Think about it. You see someone wearing a shirt with your favorite band's logo on it. You instantly feel a connection, a shared appreciation for something.
You have a visual shorthand that says, hey, you get me.
Right. And on a deeper level, it's about recognizing that beauty is subjective. What matters is that you're being true to yourself and letting your style reflect your passions and experiences.
So maybe embracing the Rapunzel aesthetic is really about giving ourselves permission to be authentically ourselves.
I think so. It's about celebrating individuality and not being afraid to express it.
Okay, I'm loving this whole Rapunzel as life coach thing, but let's get practical. How do we actually incorporate these insights into our everyday lives?
I have a challenge for you and for everyone listening. Think about one area of your life that feels a little trapped in a tower, metaphorically speaking.
Like my dating life. Kidding. Okay, I've got an area in mind.
Good. Now ask yourself, what one small change inspired by Rapunzel could I make to bring a little more creativity, freedom, or beauty into this area?
I love this. It's like a mini makeover challenge for the soul.
Exactly. Maybe it's adding a pop of color to your workspace or finally starting that creative project you've been putting off. Even something as simple as spending a few minutes each day appreciating the beauty of nature, like Rapunzel gazing at the lanterns, can make a difference.
Okay, so small steps, big impact. I can get behind that. But what about the whole connection piece? How do we actually put that into action?
Think about the people who inspire you aesthetically. Maybe they have great style, a beautiful home, or a unique talent you admire. Reach out to them. Share your inspirations. Learn from each other.
So it's about finding our lantern lovers, our people who get it.
Right. And it's also about understanding that creativity isn't just about artistic talent. It's about finding ways to express yourself authentically, whether it's through your clothes, your home, or your hobbies.
Okay, that's a big relief.
Sure.
Because while I appreciate the sentiment, my artistic talent pretty much peaks at choosing the perfect Instagram filter.
And that's okay. What matters is that you're enjoying the process and expressing your unique perspective.
This has been so insightful. I'm already feeling inspired to revamp my wardrobe, reconnect with some creative friends, and maybe even give those pastels another chance.
It sounds like you're ready to embrace your inner Rapunzel. And that's what this is all about, finding freedom, connecting with others, and creating a life that feels authentic and joyful.
So to wrap things up, what are some practical tips for those of us who are ready to let down our hair and embrace the Rapunzel aesthetic in our own lives?
I'm glad you asked. Here are a few ideas to get you started. First, think about your surroundings. Could your space use a little more you? Rearrange the furniture, add some plants, maybe even try a DIY project. Don't be afraid to experiment.
I'm already picturing a macrame wall hanging maybe with some fairy lights for that extra Rapunzel sparkle.
Perfect. It's all about creating a space that reflects your personality and inspires you.
And what about clothes? How can we bring that Rapunzel energy into our wardrobes?
Pay attention to the colors and textures that make you feel good. Don't be afraid to try something new, maybe a flowy bohemian dress or a pop of pastel color. And remember, confidence is the best accessory.
So basically, dress like you're about to escape a tower and start a new life full of adventure.
Exactly. Embrace that free spirit.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to finally ditch those sweatpants. What else have you got?
Next, prioritize creative expression, whether it's painting, writing, dancing, or even just doodling in a notebook. Find an outlet that allows you to tap into your inner artist.
And what if I'm not exactly a creative person?
Everyone has a creative spark. Think about it this way. Maybe creativity for you isn't painting a masterpiece. Maybe it's baking an amazing cake or putting together a killer outfit.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I can definitely rock a Pinterest-worthy charcuterie board.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and not being afraid to experiment.
This is all about making life a little more beautiful and joyful, right?
Absolutely. And don't forget about those lanterns. Find things that inspire you. Things that represent your hopes and dreams. It could be a, quote, a photo, a piece of art, or even a vision board. Keep those lanterns visible as a reminder to keep chasing your dreams.
I love that visual. It's like a little beacon of hope guiding us through life.
And lastly, don't underestimate the power of connection. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who inspire you, and who share your values.
It's like building your own little kingdom of lantern lovers.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, life is better when we share it with people who make us feel seen, understood, and loved.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So to all our listeners out there, let's raise a glass or lantern to embracing our inner Rapunzel, whether it's through our style or creativity or our connections. Let's create a world that's a little more magical, a little more joyful, and a lot more authentically ourselves. Until next time, keep those lanterns glowing.